Okay, good morning. So, as I said last time, this will be your last topic with me. Now, we only have one topic for your finals, which is on functions. And this is our last meeting for this semester. Okay? Anyway, it's easy. What I mean, it's not easy, but this will be easier kasi functions have been already a part of your journey in mathematics starting pa lang noong um, you were in high school. So, starting when you were in your secondary level, functions had been integrated in your classes. Therefore, it's not that hard or it's not that big deal now that we're going to talk about functions. So, let's start with ordered pairs. Now, ordered pairs are part also of our basic mathematics terms that it's been a term that we've been using in mathematics, which is considered to be a very important term or thing in math. So for ordered pairs, we have been using it, and it's just a pair of numbers that go together. And commonly, since they are ordered pairs, they are uh, sometimes they are written in by twos kasi pairs sila. And meron din yung sinusulat natin ng tatlo sila, apat, so on and so forth. But commonly, ang ginagamit lang naman natin is two numbers. So, we usually write them inside the parenthesis, which is divided by a comma. So, for example, your numbers are A and B. So, this is an example of your ordered pair. And your ordered pairs can be used in any or in a lot of mathematics classes or mathematics or branches of mathematics or any field in that manner. But you can also use ordered pairs to represent relations or to represent functions. And as I said kanina, this is one of the example of ordered pairs. As you can see, it is written inside the parenthesis, which is divided by a comma in between. Also, we need to recall what the Cartesian product is. When you talk about Cartesian product, first, we think or we let that there are two sets, and these two sets are, or when you get their product, you'll be able to find a set of ordered pairs where the first term is coming from the first set and the second term is coming from the second set, respectively. Ibig sabihin, for example, you have two sets, A and B. Now, when we talk about Cartesian product, for example, you consider A times B, you're going to make a set kung saan kukunin mo yung elements ng A mo, and that would be your first element here, and kukunin mo yung second element mo from B. And that would be your second element. So you're just going to partner or map every element of A sa elements ng B. Ganun lamang ang ating Cartesian product. Now, let's try to look at some example. So let's say this A here is, or this set here is A, which has an elements 2, 3, 4, and 5. While yung second set natin is B, which has an element of 1 and 9. If you're going to get the Cartesian product of A to B, what you're just going to do is map each of these to the elements of B. So ni 2, imap mo kon 1. Ni 2, imap mo kon 9. 3, 1, 3, 9. So you're just going to write them in terms of ordered pairs, and they are in a set. So this is the Cartesian product A to B. Okay? Now, be mindful that when you get the Cartesian product of B to A, it's not always, or it's not supposed to be the same as this. That means that A to B is not equal when you get B to A. They are not commutative. Okay? So for another example, we have here set A with elements 1 and 2, and your set B with elements 3, 4, and 5. If you're going to get the Cartesian product A to B, you're going to map each element of A to the elements of B. So you'll get 1 and 3, or yeah, you will get 1 and 3. You'll also get 1 and 4, 1, 5, 2, 3, 2, 4, and 2, 5. So when we talk about set, it's always inside a brace. So dapat meron kang ganito. Since pag Cartesian product, we're talking about sets. So ang Cartesian product is the set of ordered pairs na pinipair natin from set A to set B. Okay, so that's your Cartesian product. Now, what is the need for us to remember or recall what ordered pair is and what Cartesian product is? That's because when we talk about relation, it's using these terms. So pag sinabi nating relation, ginagamit din natin dito, or it is for us to define what relation is, we use the definition of a Cartesian product and we incorporate ordered pairs. Okay? So when we talk about relation, when we define relation, it's just a mapping, or it's just a subset of a Cartesian product between sets. Meaning pag subset, pag kumuha ka ng Cartesian product, it's not, or pag kumuha ka ng Cartesian product ng isang set, for example, here you have your set S and you're getting the Cartesian product of S to S. You can do that. And pag sinabi mong relation, you can get the whole Cartesian product that could be a relation. Or you can get a subset, meaning kahit ilan lang doon, that could still be considered as a relation. So that's the reason why we needed to recall what a Cartesian product is. Also, relation is also considered as a pairing between elements of one set to the other, which is what we're doing kanina. We're mapping the elements of set A to the elements of set B. And just a note, the first element would be, or the set A will be your domain, and the set B, or the second set, would be your range. So if you have two sets and you're getting the Cartesian product of these two to form a relation, yung una would be your domain, your second would be your range. So let's try to get or look at this example na ginawa natin kanina. Your A here has an elements 2, 3, 4, and 5. Your B has an elements 1 and 9. Now, if you're getting, or you're going to get their Cartesian product A times B, this is the complete Cartesian product. Now, you can form a relation with this. So if you would like to get 2, 1, 3, 9, 4, 9, 5, 1, as long as they have a commonalities, that would be or that could give you a relation. Or you can also get the whole of that. Kung gusto mo, pwede rin namang i-consider lahat to as a relation. You can do that. Okay, so that's the definition of relation. Now, let's try to look at this example. You have 2, 4, 6 to be the elements of set A, 1, 5 to be the elements of set B. Now, if you're going to, or this is a definition of one relation. So sabi natin, your D here is defined to be the relation in A. Ibig sabihin, you're going to get a relation from A, wherein you can get that by cross, or by Cartesian, or by getting the Cartesian product of A to A. Therefore, you can do 2, 2. You can also have 2, 4. You can also have 2, 6. Or kahit ano doon. Kasi ang Cartesian product naman ng A natin is you just map 2, 4, 6 and you're going to map that to 2, 4, 6. Kasi nga A to A. So this is a relation coming from the Cartesian product of A to A. And another is a relation which is called G, which is the relation from A to B. So you can get a subset of the Cartesian product from A to B, which is, an example is 2 to 1, 2 to 5, 4 to 5, 6 to 1, so on and so forth. This is an example for the sake of discussion, okay? Because there are sample or examples that they have a real, or I'm just showing you this so that you can imagine that relations could be or we can get relations in or from Cartesian products, since that's one of the definitions of a relation. Okay, so another example. Now, relation could be written in many forms. You can write them in the set of ordered pairs, which is ginagawa na natin kanina. Here, the set of ordered pairs is considered to be a relation. You can also rewrite them in terms of tables, wherein this is your first or your domain, this is your second set or your range. You can also present them in graph, and then you can also present them in mapping diagram. Now, here are 4 classifications of relations. First is the one-to-one. From the name itself, given 2 sets, we have here, for example, set X and set Y. You're mapping all of these elements sa inyong first set to exactly one element from your second set. That's your one-to-one. Ang many-to-one naman is you have more than one elements from the first set mapped to the same element on the second set. So just imagine from the name, many-to-one. Ado inalam or ado ngas elements tinang map kadije mes mesa ijay second set. That's many-to-one. You also have one-to-many. So baliktad met. Iisa lang na element from here are paired to more than one element from the second set. So this is one-to-many. Now, the last classification of relation is many-to-many. This means that you can do or you can have more than one elements on the first set that is paired to more than one elements on the second set. So we have here 4 classifications of relation: the one-to-one, many-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many. So meron tayong 4. Okay? Now, when we talk about relations, it's inevitable for us not to talk about functions. They always go hand in hand. Relations and functions always come together. Okay? Now, kasi the reason is functions are also relations. The only thing that makes function different or different from the different subset of relations is that there's a certain rule that we need to know. Of course, dapat meron tayong 2 sets. And then, dapat lahat ng elements ng first set mo, nakamap siya sa exactly one elements ng second set. That means, kung meron kang 5 elements dito sa set A, dapat lahat sila ma-map doon sa second set. And dapat, hindi mauulit or iisa lang ang pakakamapan ng elements na to. They should not be repeated. Okay? So, a function is a relation describes that each input ibig sabihin yung mga first elements, should have only one or unique output. Output is yung from the second set. That means that the input shouldn't be repeated. Hindi mauulit ang inyong first number. Hindi mauulit na maimamap ang first number or ang first ang any of the elements from your first set. So that is your function. Now here, between the four classifications of relations, meron lang tayong dalawang function, which is the one-to-one and many-to-one. The reason is, kahit saan mo tignan, hindi mo makikita na mauulit ito as your numbers. Okay? While here, as you can see, pwede siyang 3, 5, pwede siyang 3, 6. Dito naman, 9, 3 or 9, negative 3. Naulit yung 9, which is classified to be not a function. Therefore, ang ating function lamang dito sa apat na classification ng relation ay dalawa. One-to-one and many-to-one. Now, functions are usually represented or presented in many ways. They could be shown as set of ordered pairs, which is as seen as here. This is a set of ordered pairs, pero dapat meron silang braces. Since sabi natin, set has a brace. So, pwede ring, as you can see here, kaya hindi kaya ito non-function because yung 4 natin here is repeated. Here sa first is walang nare-repeat na first term. Dapat yung first term natin should not be repeated to be classified as a function, which is totally wrong here kasi naulit ang ating 4. Now, we can also rewrite them or present them in equations na kung saan ang hindi lang natin kina-classify here as function are the terms or the relations or equations kung saan you will be getting two values of x. Like for this, yung y squared natin, which is equal to 2x, if you're going to get a value of your 2 or you're getting a value of your x, of course, what you need to do is to square root that for us to get rid of the square. And that would give you plus minus 2x. You know that when we square root, there are two possible roots, the positive and the negative. Okay? That's the reason why you will not be able or you will not get or you will be getting two possible values. So, pag naglagay ka ng isang value dyan sa inyong x, you'll be able to get you'll be able to get more than one values of your variable. So that's not a function. Okay? You can also present your functions as graph, as I said kanina. Now, there's also a way here for us to know whether this graph is a function or not. Now, what you need to do is to do the vertical line test. Pag sinabi mong vertical line test, of course, vertical lines ang takder laeng. If you're going to make vertical lines on your graph, dapat you only have one meeting point. Dapat the lines should meet the graph in exactly one point. That would give you a function. Pero pag nakita mo na nag-meet ang line and ang yung graph ng more than once, that is classified to be a not or that would be not a function. Hindi siya function pag ganun. As you can see here, 2 times na na-meet ng vertical line yung graph natin. That's why it's an example of not a function. Okay? Now, also, we've talked about domain and range kanina. Ang domain and range kasi natin is, it starts from being easy, meaning there are cases na madali lang nating ma-determine ang domain and range ng isang function. But also, there comes a time kung saan mas mahirap na i-determine ang domain and range. Okay? But first, let's try to define what a domain is and what a range is. Pag sinabi nating domain, they are the set of all values of the independent variable x for which the function is defined. Ibig sabihin, ang ating domain is the values we get for your x. Okay? And they are the input. Kaya siya sinasabing independent is, yun yung number na ilalagay natin for us to get a certain value of y. Pag sinabi kasi nating dependent, if you have your function here, y is equal to 3x. If you're going to input here a value, you'll be able to get your y. Kaya that's the reason why ang x natin ay independent while yung y natin is dependent. Nakadepende yung value ng y natin sa x. That's why it's dependent. So, lahat ng values or possible values of your x will be your domain. That's why it's called the input. Now, ang range naman is, it's all the possible set of values na makukuha mo kay y. Meaning, pag naglagay ka ng value kay x, pag nilagay mo lahat ng possible values mo kay x, makukuha mo rin lahat ang possible values mo kay y. And that would be your range. That's why it's called the output, kasi tsaka mo lang siya makukuha. Tsaka mo lang ma-determine ang value ng y once you've put a value for your x. So that's your domain and range. Like, for example, if you have this set of ordered pairs, mas madali lang i-determine ang domain and range. You can just easily determine it. Kasi ang domain is just the first numbers. Ang domain natin ay 1, 2, 3, and 4. While ang range natin ay yung second numbers, 3, 6, 9, and 12. But that's not always the case. Hindi lahat ng ating pagkuha ng domain and range is as easy as this. Okay? So, for example, you have this. Now, to think of this as in general, your domain, isipin mo lang, ano ang pwede mong ilagay kay x that would give you a value of y? And you know that kahit na anong ilalagay mo kay x dito na value, okay lang. That's the reason why your domain is the set of all x such that your x is any real number. Kasi kahit na anong real number ang ilagay mo dito, it would give you a value of your y. And that would still give you a function. Okay? Excuse me. Now, ang isipin nyo is, in getting domains, ang restrictions lang natin is if you have a fraction or if you have a radical number. Okay? Those are the things that you just need. So, ang meron lang tayong restrictions ay yung fractions and radical numbers. Yun lang ang kailangan yung kailangan yung i-remember. So, here, you have here your domain, which is, of course, x ang ating value ng domain. So, that's why x, or the set of all x, such that x is any real number. Ang range naman natin ay y is also the set of all y's kung saan ang y natin is any real number. Now, this is not always the case, okay? There are times that you need to solve for the range. And what you can do is to get the inverse function. Pag sinabi nating inverse function, using this original function, pag-changean nyo laeng the y can x values yo. And then you proceed to get your y. And then find the domain of that. Now, for example, you have this. You have a function na y is equal to 2x plus 1. Now, for you to get the range, pag sinukatan nyo laeng, instead of y is equal to 2x plus 1, you get x is equal to 2y plus 1. and then you get the value of your y. So you will get that by x minus 1 is equal to 2y, or when you divide that by 2, you'll still get x minus 1 over 2 is equal to y. Now, as you could see here, wala kang kahit na anong restrictions kasi tsaka ka lang magkakaroon ng restrictions in fractions kapag meron kang variable sa denominator. That's it. Kung wala kang variable sa denominator, then that could be a easier one kasi ang ibig sabihin lang is you can input a lot of values dito. Okay? Pwede kang makakuha ng kahit na anong values dito, and that's easy for which is easier kasi ibig sabihin lang nun is it's just any real number. Kapag maglalagay ka ng lahat ng possible values of x mo, ang makukuha mo lang din is kahit na anong real number. Okay, let's try to look at another example. Now, this is one of the things na I said kanina, that some restrictions only are found in fractions, which is, this is a fraction form, or numbers inside a radical sign. The reason is, if you're going to find the domain of this, make sure that you're not going to have an undefined number. Okay? And sabi kasi natin is, when we're writing fractions, your denominator should not be equal to 0. Therefore, think of any values of x that could give you a 0 denominator. That is, x is negative 1. Pag sinubstitute mo yung negative 1 dito, that would give you a 0 denominator. Pag nagkaroon ka ng 0 denominator, that means that you have an undefined number. That means again that you cannot find a value for your y. So, pag maglalagay ka na ng domain mo, ang ilalagay mo na sa domain mo is kahit na anong number except for negative 1. So, kahit na anong number ang ilagay mo, basta hindi magiging 0 ang denominator. And the only number that could make your denominator 0 is negative 1. So, you exclude that negative 1. Now, for you to get the range, is what you're going to do is you do what we've done kanina. So, instead of having these, you must get a reverse function. Inverse function, I mean. You're going to inverse them, meaning yung y is equal to 1 over x plus 1 mo. Pag sinukatan nyo lang ayan, variables na. So, agbalin nga ni x ni y, agbalin nga ni y ni x. And then find the value of your y. And you can do that by multiplying both sides by y plus 1. And that would get rid your y plus 1 here. And then you'll get x plus y, or x times y plus x, xy, which is equal to negative x plus 1. And then divide both sides by x. Okay? Now, the only way with this solution of yours, nakakuha ka na ng value ng y mo. Now, what would make your y value undefined? Since this is a fraction, you know that if your denominator is 0, that would mean that your function is undefined. So, dapat yung x mo is not equal to 0. That's why it's your range. Kasi, if you're going to have a value here, hindi ka kailanman makakakuha ng 0. That's the meaning of your range. Okay? So, let's try to look at another example. Same case. This is an example of a fraction 1. Now, what you need to do is for you to think of the domain first. ang una mong gagawin is think of any value of x na kung saan pag nilagay mo yung x dito or pag sinubstitute mo dito, magiging 0 ang ating function or magiging 0 ang ating denominator. Now, what you could do is to equate your denominator to 0 and then find x. Yung makukuha mong x, yan yung restriction mo. Dapat it should not be equal to your value of x. For your range, kung na tayo, baliktadan tayo lang. So instead of having y, you'll get x. Your x here would become y. And then find the value of y. So that would give you 2xy plus 3x equals 5. Now you can change or you can put 3x to the other side. And then find the value of y by dividing both sides by 2x. So that would give you negative 3x plus 5, 2x. Now, what could be, or anat mabalin nyo nga mapanunot nga ipankon x ditoy, so that if you multiply it by 2, you'll be able to get 0. Any number that you can multiply to 2 so that you will get 0. Of course, the answer is 0. Kasi if you're going to multiply 0 by 2, you'll get 0. So, dapat yung 0 ang magiging restriction mo dito. It will be y is never equal to 0. Okay? So, another example, we have here the radical na. Ito na yung sinasabi ko kanina that you cannot have, or this is one of the functions na may restriction aside from your fraction. Okay? Dito sa function na to, radical, ang inaano natin is dapat hindi magkaroon ng negative value ang ating inside. Kasi that would give you an imaginary number. So, ang kailangan nyo lang intindihan is, if you have a fraction, your denominator should not be equal to 0. Kaya yan yung palagi nating tinitignan. Kapag meron kang radical, your a should not be equal to negative number. Because that would give you an imaginary number. Kasi ang square root ng negative number is an imaginary number. Ang cube root ng negative is just any real number. So, pwede pag cube root. Pero pag square root, pag fourth root, sixth root, basta multiples of 2, it's imaginary. So, dapat never kang magkakaroon ng negative na inside. So, think of this. What would be the possible values of x that would make your inside negative? Of course, you can have 0 kasi magiging negative 7. You can also have 1 that would be negative 6. 2 that would be negative 5. 3 negative 4. 4 negative 3. 2 negative 5. 1 negative 6. What else? 0 natapos ko na. That would give you. Now, you cannot put 6. Okay. Pag 7 naman is 0 na. You cannot put 7 kasi ang square root ng 0 ay 0, which is a real number. So, ang ating possible values lang ay, or you can also have negative 1 kasi negative 1 minus 7, that's negative 8. So, you have here this range kung saan ang mga values ng x mo should not be or should be less than or greater than, should be greater. It should be greater than your 7 so that you will have a positive number inside the radical sign. So, ang domain natin is lahat ng x that are greater than or equal to 7. While ang range natin is it's always the case. Ang range natin palagi is y is greater than or equal to 0. That's always our range. Okay? Now, sa cube root naman, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina that sa cube root, wala ka ditong masyadong restriction. Square root meron. Fourth root meron. Third root or third root or this cube root, wala. So, ang domain mo dito is just any real number. Ang range mo is any real number. That's it. So, intindihin or just remember, square root, you should not have a negative number inside. Pag cube root, anything will do. It would still be equal to any real number. Okay? Now, when we evaluate the function, what we're just going to do is, we substitute the value that is given. Pag kasi sinabi natin na f of x, pag ang x mo dito ay 2, that means isa-substitute mo lahat ng x ng 2. So you're just going to substitute. That's just simply evaluating. Like for example, you evaluate or substitute f of 2 to this function. So what you're just going to do is, i-change mo lahat ng x into 2 and then simplify. So your f of 2 is negative 3. Paano naman pag f of negative 6? Of course, what you're just going to do is to change your x with negative 6 and then simplify. That would give you negative 59. Pag x plus h naman, ibig sabihin, ang x nyo mas mapapalitan ng x plus h. That would give you negative of x plus h squared plus 3 times x plus h minus 5. So what you're just going to do here is to make sure that you're doing the, or you're expanding rather. You're expanding the whole equation the right way. Okay? So you'll have, so that you will have negative x squared minus 2xh plus minus h squared plus 3x plus 3h minus 5. So that is your f of x plus h. Now, that should be minus. Okay? How about if your a is, you will substitute a. That's the same. You're just going to, instead of x, ang gagamitin mo na is a, which is just the same as negative a squared plus 3a minus b. Okay? So, now, when we talk about operations and functions naman, operations are just addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So when you do this, of course, you're just going to do or to show what is needed. So for example, so you have these two functions, which is x squared minus 1 and 2x plus 3. Now, this could be, or pag sinabi mong, or you're going to find or conduct or do the different operations on functions. If you say f of x plus g of x, of course, what you're just going to do is to simply add these two functions. Just add them. No drama, add them. And then you combine like terms. Ang like terms lang dito is negative 1 and 3. That gives you 2. Therefore, the addition or the sum of f of x and g of x is just the function defined as x squared plus 2x plus 2. So that's your sum. Now, if it's subtraction naman, it's the same case. But make sure nga this one would change to negative. Okay? So that you could have negative 1 minus 3 by like combining like terms. And that's just negative 4.
So, pag multiplication, you just do the FOIL method. Pag division, of course, it's just dividing. Usually kasi, pag magdi-divide tayo ng functions, we're using either the long division or we're using fraction form, which is this. Nilalagay lang natin siya sa fraction form. We're finding terms na pwede nating i-take away, pwede nating i-cancel, and that's it. Pero sometimes kasi, we are using the long method kasi hindi natin magamit-gamit yung fraction method. It's not applicable. Okay, so the base or the best lesson here is to use what is the most applicable solution. So going on with composition of functions. Pag sinabi natin composition of functions, this is just the similar way of evaluating functions. Pero ang ine-evaluate kasi natin dito is function. And then, ang ilalagay lang din naman natin is function. Ibig sabihin, kung meron kang dito or composition of functions is denoted by this one, circle. So, binabasa natin to as G circle F. And pag nakita mo ang G circle F like that, that means that your first here will be the outer and then yung second will be the inner. Okay? So, ang ibig sabihin lamang yan is, if you are given the functions f of x and g of x, and you find this kind of term here, ang gagawin mo lang is, you substitute here the value of the function. Okay? So, let's try to look at an example. So, ang f of x mo dito, 3x plus 1. Ang g of x, 4x minus 5. Now, we're trying to find F circle G and G circle F. So, two cases ito. Una natin gagawin is F circle or F circle G or F of G of X. Ang ibig sabihin, ang basis mo lahat is 3x plus 1. Now, ang isa-substitute mo na value ni X is your G of X. So, that would give you 4x minus 5 quantity plus 1. So simplifying, that would give you 12x minus 15 plus 1 or just 12x minus 14. Therefore, your F circle G of x is just 12x minus 14. Kabaliktaran naman pag G sub or G circle F. Ang ibig sabihin naman, ang G of x natin ang ating basic function. And then, ang sasubstitute natin kay x will be your f of x, which is 3x plus 1 minus 5. So, simplify, that would give you plus 4 minus 5, or just 12x minus 1. So, that would be your G circle F. Basta kung ano yung una, yun yung basic. And then kung ano yung nasa loob, yun yung isa-substitute mo sa variables. So another example. We have here your f sub x or f of x as x squared plus 1. Yung g sub x naman natin or g of x is 3x plus 2. And we're trying to find f circle g and g circle f. So what you could do is, here, ang basic natin dito is x squared plus 1. That's your f of x. So, ang isa-substitute natin na value ni x is 3x plus 2. So, that will okay. Okay. So, that would give you 3x plus 2 plus 1. It's 3x plus, or by simplifying further, you'll be able to get 9x squared plus 12x plus 5. While if you're getting the G circle F, you'll be able to get the answer 3x squared plus 5. Okay? So, okay. So that's it. Now, what we're going to do, or what I'm going to tell you now is the last topic is already done, which is on functions. So ang kailangan niyo na lang gawin is to finish all the requirements and also to pass all the permits for your examinations before you do, or before you have your finals, which is scheduled to be on next week. So next week na yung finals ninyo. That means that you have natapos na natin today. So ang kailangan nyo na lang gawin is the activities. Okay? So I hope you'll be able to finish the activities on time para wala na tayong problema. Okay. Thank you.